Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good
You're
afternoon.
welcome. Over to you, man. we apologize for the technical technical issue experience earlier. Now I think we can go ahead. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 34th academic lecture series titled Funding Underutilized Legumes Research, Industry Collaboration and FMCG Potential, holding today, Wednesday, 25th March, 2026. I'd like to welcome everyone. I don't know what time of the day it is in our various countries, but to us it's a beautiful day, and I believe it is with all of us across the globe. Thank you for joining and welcome to the program. So it's my belief that the program, the meeting, the lecture series is going to be one of its kind and a phenomenon at that. By the grace of God, today we'll be having Professor Kehinde Soetan to deliver the welcome address. And our guest speaker for today is Professor Adesola Ajayi. So we will be recognizing them and doing a fuller recognition when they would come up. So I don't know. I think we should be ready to take the welcome address now by Professor Kehinde Soetan. That's the National Vice President, One Society for Underutilized Legumes. Welcome, Prof. Without much ado, could you please take the welcome address?
He's in another meeting, but he promised to join us as quickly as possible. So we may go to the citation of our mentor, ma. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So can we move on to the next item then? So we buy time.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, we can, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes, we can go ahead, ma'am. We can go ahead to the citation of Prof, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So, like I said earlier, that the guest speaker for today is Professor Adesola Ajayi. And in the next 5 minutes, I rush to take his citation. A brief profile of Professor Adesola Ajayi. Professor Adesola Ajayi is a notable agricultural scientist and higher education manager with over 3 decades of teaching, research, and higher education management experience. He obtained Bachelor's of Agric in Plant Science with a first-class honors in 1991, an MPhil in Plant Science in 1997, both from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and Doctor of Science in Agriculture with specialization in seed science and technology from Christian Albrecht University, Kiel, Germany in 2003. He was a university scholar at the Obafemi Awolowo University and the Obafemi Awolowo University Scholarship for Outstanding Students in 1989. He was a recipient of Ebony Award for being the student with the highest cumulative grade point average in the Faculty of Agriculture in 1990, Noble Club Award for being the student with the highest cumulative grade point average in the Department of Plant Science in 1990. He was awarded the Faculty of Agriculture and Ali Idowu prizes for being the student with the best overall performance in the final B Agric degree examinations, and Professor Duncan's first prize for being the student with the best project work in the final B Agric Plant Science degree examinations in 1991. He was the pioneer recipient of Dr. Sunday Aribisala Fellowship for the best MSc Agricultural graduate from Nigerian universities and agricultural institutions recommended for a PhD program in 1998. He was also awarded the German Academic Exchange Service DAAD scholarship for doctoral studies in 1999. He started his career as a graduate assistant at Obafemi Awolowo University in 1993 and rose through the ranks to become a professor in 2010. He was a research fellow at the Institute of Crop and Grassland Science, Federal Agricultural Research Center, Braunschweig, Germany, between 1999 and 2003. Intermittent visiting scientist at Pioneer Hybrid Pandorf, Austria, between 2000 and 2001. He had his postdoctoral he was a postdoctoral scientist at the Plant Cell Biology Research Unit, School of Biological and Conservation Sciences, University of KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, South Africa, between 2003 and 2005, and a founding member / global board member of the Sustainable Futures Global Network. He has mentored several postdoctoral candidates and supervised several master's and doctoral students. Ajayi has more than 50 scientific publications to his credit. As an expert and acknowledged research leader, he has vast research and industry experience on seed systems, agricultural innovations, and enterprise development. He was also a research manager, agricultural policy, dialogue, and mentorship of early career researchers, ECRS. His research focus has been on improving crop productivity through seed technologies, genetic resources, conservation and enhancement, and the impact of climate change on food security. Professor Ajayi has held several management positions in the university system, mostly at Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He is currently the Vice-Chancellor of Abiola Ajimobi Technical University, Ibadan. Previously, he was the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, the Chairman of the Governing Council of Okeogun Polytechnic, Shaki, in Oyo State between July 2019 and 2022. He had previously been the Director of Academic Planning and Partnerships at the Technical University between 2017 and March 2018. He was the Chairman, Faculty of Agriculture Postgraduate Committee member Board of Postgraduate College, OAU, between January and June 2017. He was member, Strategic Planning Committee for the development of Obafemi Awolowo University Strategic Plan for 2016-2020 in the year 2015. Member of the Appointments and Promotion Committee between 2015 and 2017 and 2007 and 2009. He was a university orator in 2015. He was member University Research Committee between 2014 and 2016, chairman and deputy chairman of the University Security Committee, director, University Teaching and Research Farm between 2012 and 2016, and acting head, Department of Crop Production and Protection between 2006 and 2008, among several others. In 2017, he received the Green Award from the National Association of Agricultural Students, NAS, OAU chapter, as the most liked lecturer in the Department of Crop Production and Protection. Professor Ajayi has participated in several national and continental agricultural policy dialogues and regularly facilitates national stakeholders meetings on seed sector development, improving crop productivity, and increasing farmers' income. He has consulted and managed several agricultural development projects for national, region, and international organizations like the Federal Ministries of Environment and of Agriculture, the African Seed Access Index, TSAI, West and Central African Council for Research and Development of the United Nations Development Program, the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, FAO, United Nations Women, German Agency for International Cooperation, Winrock International / United States Agency for International Development, Catholic Relief Services, and several international consulting firms. Professor Ajayi speaks Yoruba, English, and German, and currently is learning French. Professor Ajayi is happily married and blessed with godly children. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you an astute professor and erudite scholar, the primus inter pares and numero uno of Abiola Ajimobi Technical University, Ibadan, Nigeria, Professor Adesola Ajayi. I believe you're all giving a resounding applause to this wonderful professor who will be our guest speaker for this program. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the privilege to be invited to give this lecture. And like I told the president last night, it's something that I think is more conversational than the traditional lecture that we're used to. And the presentation itself has been done in such a way to elicit discussion. And my ideas, I will embed it, of course, with some information more than what we had in the presentation. But I hope we all can see my presentation. Please let me know that you can see the presentation. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Context. What I mean by that is, for all of us, I know that the majority of us who are here were fairly well informed as to the justification for the time and the effort that has been put to underutilized legume. And I think the efforts, as well as the commitment of every one of us who are members of the underutilized legume research group, deserves a noting and deserves an applause, because the category of crops that we're talking about because I had the privilege of growing up in the village, are something that I'm well used to, and I'm sufficiently aware of the importance to household food security. So let me start by looking at the place of these legumes in the context of the global food system. As we all know, the global food system is highly skewed, very, very skewed towards rice, wheat, maize, and potato, the four of which collectively are responsible for about 60% of the caloric intake of the global population. And this dependence, of course, creates a lot of vulnerabilities. As we all know, three of them belong to the same family, the grass family, namely rice, wheat, and maize. And potato is the only one that belongs to another one. And as a result of this monotony also, there's a high probability of vulnerability to the same categories of pests and outbreaks, as well as the associated nutritional deficits. And one of the great blessings and advantage that we have in Nigeria has to do, of course, with the multiplicity of food crops, as well as the diversity of preparations that we can make. For many of us who have traveled beyond the shores of this country, one of the first things that you miss, of course, is the food culture that we have at home. So Nigeria is blessed that we have several of these neglected, underutilized, under-researched, underfunded crops. And we have quite a number of them. And Nigeria, with the population that we have, there's no gainsay about the fact that we need to have an alternative look at things. When we look at the nutritional powerhouse, I call it neglected nutritional powerhouse. And we have only highlighted 6 crop species belonging to this category that we're talking about. Wind bean, African yam bean, Bambara groundnut, pigeon pea, Keston's groundnut, and lima bean. Of course, this is not exhaustive, but it's just to highlight the diversity. And we have a range of protein content of this between 25 and as high as 39%. Yet, they are underutilized, they are under-researched, they are underfunded. And they are also under-considered, if I may use that, in terms of industrial potential that they have. The interesting thing is that a lot of these crops don't require extensive cultivation. I remember growing up as a young boy on the farm. Some of them are just planted around stumps and or as hedge crop to demarcate acres of land, rarely as crop on their own. And we consume them during the dry season or during the off season when other crops are normal, namely yam, maize, and the popular ones. So many of these indigenous species, of course, we compete and far exceed other crops like cowpea, the popular ones, both in terms of nutritional potential, in terms of adaptation, as well as in terms of resilience. Even in terms of post-harvest handling, their susceptibility to pests and to post-harvest insects and biotic stresses are far, far lower compared to many of the crops that attention is on today. We have now, if we are to look at them, and given the attention that they are requiring and the trend of things, there's a need for a multidimensional strategy to it, which already, as we're talking now is being driven by women. A lot of the attention that we have on them have been driven by women, particularly in the agrarian communities. And I will just highlight a few of the things that are already being done. We have established from scientific point of view that we could substitute wheat flour with the flour of Bambara granules, and the direct intervention for Nigeria is about 32% reduction in child stunting rate, as well as 55% reduction in maternal anemia prevalence by the mere consumption of this one. Of course, there are several other untapped medicinal, nutritional values, because what we know today is only to the extent to which we have researched them. And of course, there is there is a lot of benefits that are being derived. Some of our members, I know Professor Namani has done a lot of work in terms of the potential of African yam bean for nutritional benefit as well as for socio-economic empowerment. So if we then look at where the problem is in terms of the challenge why they are still underutilized. First and foremost, there is no funding. But let me say that I personally hold the view that funding is not the major problem that we have. I think those of us who are scientists also need to take a step back and do some introspection. How many of us have taken interest in championing or researching these crops? Because if we look at it even on a national scale, which crop is being funded? Right? There's hardly any crop that is funded. But I think where the lacuna comes from predominantly is that if we look at our agricultural research system in Nigeria, legumes are conspicuously missing. There's hardly any particular institute that is attached to them. They are all scattered. We have nearly all institutes for institute for nearly all our relevant cereal crops. We have for fruit crops. We have for vegetable crops. We have for other plantation crops, Cocoa Research Institute, Rubber Research Institute. We have for dry land agriculture. We have for farming system. But you see legumes interspersed and scattered around some of these institutes. We really does not have any particular one dedicated to this. So in terms of the NRF, ARS grants, because a lot of people don't know this crop and because they don't feature prominently in our food system, but let me say that they don't feature prominently in urban food system, not a rural food system. In urban food system, we tend to neglect them. And the fast-moving consumer good industry, on the other hand, despite that their general R&D budget is low in Nigeria, it's even far worse and almost non-existing for this category of crops that we're talking about. So if we talk of funding, we have to look at it critically to say that, yes, in comparison to all the other crops, the major issue for me, I don't think, is funding. I think it's about structural neglect of these crops. And yet, if we take example in terms of global blueprints, if we take example from other countries, We know that Embarapa in Brazil has transformed the common bean into a highly competitive commercial commodity with a return of about 1 to 17, using private partnership, aggressive IP licensing, and commercialization agreement with private firms. ICRISAT has done the same thing, okay, through mentors, medium, small, and micro, small, medium enterprises. And a takeaway for Nigeria is that there's the need for public investment, which only yields economic transformation when paired with a structured formal interface for private sector commercialization. Let me go back a bit and speak more to the issue of the structural neglect of these legumes. And those of us who are scientists within our institution, within our individual research groups and research agenda, we need to focus more on these crops. I imagine if we have consistently focused on them over time and deliberately sustained research interest in them, some of them will have gained global recognition beyond what they are now. Now, if we look at Nigeria's demand for local raw materials, a major issue with the underutilized legumes has to do with the fact that not enough information has been put in the public space in terms of their usefulness. And a few ones that some of our colleagues have taken out to research on, I do know that quite a number of people have used these crops for their AVH, DAD research. And they have found quite significant potentials and are therefore expressing interest in researching them. If we have done our research, sustained that, and we're able to demonstrate the relevance of the incorporation of this to whatever extent possible in fast-moving consumer goods markets, we'll have had tremendous progress. And I'll give you an example that supports my view. Many people don't know what they call Alamblachia floribunda, which is what they call in Yoruba Pandoro. Despite the fact that it's so scarce, yet Nestle is willing to spend millions of dollars to encourage its production. Why? Because they have come to appreciate the value of its oil content. So there's the potential for us to capture a bit, not even a little, a substantial bit of the growing consumer good markets. And that is what we showed in that graph. Now, moving on from my earlier presentation, I'm still providing this background to then dovetail into how we can generate funding or target funding to conduct research and promote this one. Some of the product pathway for the species that I earlier mentioned are noted. Bambara granite, there are now established protocol for its inclusion in flour for a lot of the fast-moving consumer group, particularly pastries. Bambara granite also provides a very good plant milk alternative. There are all kinds of milk alternative now, almond milk, soya milk, and that also has been done for Bambara granite. The same thing with pigeon peel. African yam bean is about one of the most well-researched in recent times, and its flour can enrich pasta and noodles. And of course, It can also be formulated into high-protein infant complementary food. Custom granite is also having potential that is researchable and can be harnessed. And moving on from there, this provides a schematic view of the point I was making. First, we need to build a lot more scientific evidence, both in terms of the nutritional composition, in terms of the functional properties of these legumes, of their flour, as well as potential areas and the diversity of uses to which we can put them. We need to put the scientific evidence out there in the public space. And from there, then begin to advocate the potential contribution to the ongoing economic revitalization program in Nigeria, carefully targeting some specific area. And of course, we can only stand to imagine what kind of impact that will come. We also must admit to ourselves as academics that we have a weakness in terms of engaging industries. I've had the privilege of moving close to this, and by the privilege of the position I now occupy, I see how weak as well as how deficient we are in terms of engaging the industry. And of course, the issue of how to go through or alleviate the bottlenecks in the value chain is something that I need not overemphasize in terms of the germplasm, the primary production, up to the regulation of it. I will spend more time in my proposition for the funding. But please, before I go on to that, recall my submission that first and foremost, we need to invest a lot more time in promoting and advocating the utilization of these legumes, the potential areas of their industrial uses. And I have a proposition that we should start with a Nigerian underutilized legume research and commercialization consortium, which will be a well-designed approach to coordinate targeted research and facilitate inclusion of the industry. I am so sure that the industries are not unwilling to support research. And I want to challenge us to be prepared, because as from this or next year, Nigerian industries, if the bill succeeds, the Nigerian industries will now get tax credits for whatever investment they put into research. I'm aware at the level of the Ministry of Science and Technology, discussion had advanced so much as at last year, to the point that if all went through as proposed then, by now we should be close to getting that bill passed that will encourage industries to invest research and in turn get a tax credit. Of course, we need to have a steering committee, a technical advisory committee, and a commercialization unit. We must not run away or shy from the fact that as academics, we lack the experience, we lack the opportunity, and we lack the exposure on how to engage industry. And from my little experimental approach, I think it's something that we need to take more serious than even the science, because we know the science, we know how to do the science. We already have enough evidence from a scientific point of view, and we have the readiness, the capacity, and the know-how on how to generate more science. But President Obasanjo attended a meeting last April, and I was at the meeting at the inauguration meeting in Ghana, and he said something. He said, we need to learn how to engage governments. That we academics don't know how to engage government. He gave the background. What many of us know today as African Academy of Science, President Obasanjo substantially contributed to that. I think he gave about $5 million when he was military president or head of state, eventually metamorphosing into this. So if we engage them right from the very beginning, I think it's going to be easier for us. Not when we have done our own, we then go to the industries and they then begin to raise questions. We have a lot of things to learn. Some of these things were highlighted in the last meeting's presentation about what they did with similar other crops. And for us that are in universities, we need to, within the consortium that is being proposed, we have universities who will conduct translational research, operate pilot plants, and generate market-ready product types. Not just publication we're talking about. And I think there is a less emphasis on product development in our institution, which is also something that has affected us badly. We need to engage, of course, the fast-moving consumer good industry. Government also, of course, we have TETFund now. I am aware that there's also the proposal for another research, just equivalent to something like the South African Research Foundation. That also, there are a lot of lobby in government to have that. We need to involve donors, and we need to have women's group to do this. And for the universities, while we may not yet have a pool of dedicated funds, either directly through our institutions or indirectly through governments, we can do something by including these crops in our research activities and applying for grants. I reviewed a proposal for a research fund for an European country research funding agency. And I saw a lot of substitution. They were trying something about substitution for substitution of wheat in winning food formula, substitution of milk. And there was a very strong desire on the part of the funding agency to fund such. I also had the privilege of also being involved in the selection of some early career research starter grants. You rarely find a lot of this. And to my amazement, we see an increase and a preponderance of proposals from the physical sciences than the biological sciences. So this is an untapped opportunity that we can take advantage of indirectly. We can encourage our own students to apply for grants. IFS is there. DAG is there that people can apply for. While the funding may not come to us directly, we can also do a lot of work that speaks to some of the researchable constraints on these crops. And in recent times, a lot of funding organizations are decentralizing and now calling for centers of excellence. Individuals can do that. And we also see that there is a very low involvement of those of us who are in biological sciences in terms of the centers of excellence, where we have direct funding, sustained funding over 3, 4, 5 years. DAD has decentralized. They now have centers of excellence across Africa. Not many there. When TETFund also called for centers of excellence, I think apart from the one in Umudike and maybe Kano, on dry land agriculture. You also don't have those that are particularly targeting things like this underutilized legumes. I know there is one for seed technology in Ghana. I also know that there are those in dry land agriculture. So we need to be a bit more innovative in how we harness some of these opportunities that we have.
So that if he gives us that, there'll be a backlash for the president.
But so if we look at how to then do that for the consortium that is being produced, that is being proposed, we have a 7-year approach to how to do it. First, within the first 5 years, the year 1 to year 2, that we're going to have the foundation that, of course, will require a lot more from public and donor agencies before we get private funding. Let me say that the issue of food is something that has become a pivotal issue, and they are going beyond the traditional farm-ready food production. I think by now, if you go to America and you are offered plant-based burger, you are not likely to detect that they are not beef-derived sausages. I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, then they were still struggling with some of them taste and structure. I attended an American, the Association of Plant Biologists, American Society for Plant Biology, where they were still struggling. They got the texture, but they were looking to do something that would give the collagen structure and taste. They were struggling that derived from plants. By 2 years ago, I'm aware that plant-based sausages, plant-based burgers are now available that if no one tells you, you're likely to have thought you are eating beef. So functionality of food is a major area of research, and people have gone away from saying, oh, Bambara granite has 50% protein, but what are the functional properties that will find relevance in industrial work? And increasingly, if we do that, I'm sure that will generate more private funding. By including them, we need to set up that consortium. We need to bring in people who, like extension in the agriculture space, they understand the language of those of us who are in the lab, and they understand the language of those of them who are in the industrial space, and they are able to bring us together. So that kind of innovation is something that we need to begin to look at. And if we move in terms of translating our universities from the traditional model to becoming a hub for translational activities, we must evolve beyond isolated teaching labs to become active bridge between science and industry. And that will lead me to emphasizing the issue of product development. Product development rather than mere basic research. TEFON has been doing that, focusing on the issue of innovation hubs. But like I mentioned in the second part, one conspicuous area of lack is that we don't have industry liaisons. We don't have industry liaisons, and we need, as institutions, to have formal commercial offices that actively market R&D. In the last 1 year, the university where I am is on the Lagos-Ibadan Express. And then I just commissioned a group to say, okay, beginning from Ibadan up to Lagos, the entire space or a substantial part of that space has been taken over by all kinds of industries. And we have a university on that same axis from Ibadan to Lagos. In what way can we be relevant to them? In what way? How can we position ourselves for relevance? Okay, we are not asking them to just bring money, and I think that's what many of them run away from. You ask them for money, donation, and they ask what is the need for us. So we are packaging ourselves to see how we can be relevant. And the basic thing is that we have been chasing money, but chasing money alone is not sufficient. Where there is a good idea, money will chase idea. And just last night, I got a call from one of our technical partners, and he's saying that, oh, people are inviting us from different countries, requesting us to train for them young people that will fill their labor markets. So where there are good ideas, people will follow. So we need to do a bit more of introspection and then see how we can take advantage. As I bring this to a close, how do we activate the blueprints that we have done? And let me say that one of the advantages that we have had since we started Underutilized Legumes has to do with the fact that we have a coordinated approach. And I want to commend our leadership, both in the past and in the present. Let us move beyond what we have done in the past to now say that, for example, when you are looking for government tech funding, as a society, we can sponsor research ideas that we commission our members, or we domicile this thing in commission members' labs as a way of pushing this thing forward. And we also, at our individual levels in our respective institutions, jumpstart the process of prioritizing translational prototypes over mere publications, as well as, again, like I said, how do we engage industries? Well, with particular emphasis on fast-moving consumer goods. But beyond that, there are other areas of relevance. That in itself is something that we need to focus attention on. And of course, the issue of donors. Okay, we need to respond. For example, the issue of EU Erasmus funding has become something that nearly all institutions in Nigeria are now talking about, and I believe we can do more. We can take a share of that, and we can be involved. This, in a nutshell, are my ideas and propositions for funding research in underutilized legumes. First, by saying that we need to do more in terms of scientific evidence, but equally, we need more than science of underutilized legumes. We need those who are experienced in partnership building, in consensus building, as well as in connecting us to industries. From my little and limited interaction, I understand that many industries have funding. They have allocation for research, no matter how little. So even some of them, even under the auspices of corporate social responsibilities. But the issue of trust and the issue of knowing how to go about it is something that has been limiting. Within our institutions, we also can push ideas that will lead our institution to becoming hubs for translation rather than just for academic publication. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Adesola Ajayi. Can we give another resounding round of applause? I can see thumbs up. I can see people clapping. Thank you, and thank you very much. That was a brilliant and wonderful presentation by Professor Adesola Ajayi, FASN, FSUL, AEC. Thank you very much. So can we have further discussions, questions from all participants? Does anyone have questions, comments? Kindly unmute your mic if you have any question. Should I take that to mean that the lecture was clearly understood? No one has any comments?
I have a question.
Okay. So, okay, Dr. Adegwega, I can see your hand. Please.
Yes,
go
ma,
ahead.
but before Bridget has a question, ma. Thank you. Bridget.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, sir, for the presentation. I just want to find out if we have industries that are actually looking for any of these underutilized leguminous crop to probably use it in their production line, because we need to be sure if they really want to embrace it before we can think of commercializing it as well. Thank you. Hello.
All right, thank you very much. I think, except for commodity industries, the idea of industries needing them is not in any doubt. But what I have found is that in many instances, they are not as interested in the crop as they are harvested as in the functional properties. And I give an example. The pharmaceutical industries were looking for what they will use as inert material for as carriers for medicinal value. And they were looking for starches and everything. And they were looking into the functional properties of the flour of different yams. Okay. I know that Nigerian breweries had intended to replace brewing sugar with glucose syrup. And they were looking for where they can get an uninterrupted supply of cassava tubers. So the same way that some industries are looking for this legume, many of them are not interested in them per se as food, as they are in the functional activities like the flour, like what kind of chemicals they can take from them, or the kind of oil or the kind of components that are in them. So that's why I continue to emphasize that. But like I said earlier on, our knowledge and information about this, or what is at our disposal currently, is limited. We need to have a commission group that looks into this, what we have done to harness them and sit down. I've had the privilege of being at meetings where you talk to them, and because we don't understand what they need, that's why I said, if we have people who would then tell us, oh, this is what is possible, this is what we are looking for, this is what we can get, and then from there we look into them. So except in the area of their use for food, which is quite limited, I think the issue of the information about industries is limited for now, but I'm sure that we'll get more, both in terms of searching the literature, but also from Raw Material Development Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. There's another question here from James Oju. I beg your pardon. I don't know if it's Your title is Prof or Doctor, but I can only see James Ojo here. And he says, thank you for a good presentation, sir. Please, how can we collaborate among ourselves to have a robust award-winning proposal?
Well, I'm aware that the executive committee of the association has initiated something like this. And I think riding on the back of what they have started, I'm sure that by the time they fine-tune and release the strategy, some of these issues will be addressed. But obviously, we need to have thematic groups as well as group leaders. I'm aware that this also consideration has been given to it. From there, we will start as a society. We'll have the thematic groups, and we have within the thematic groups both experience, upcoming, and those who are established academic. We can all then work together in harmony to take advantage of that. But I also suggest that we need to strengthen, and we already have a WhatsApp platform, but we need to strengthen our information sharing mechanism so that it will be easier for us to relate more on time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there are other questions or comments. Okay, is Professor Kinde Shorton around? Okay, sorry, I beg your pardon. I can see another question now popping up. This question is from Olubukola Ayonleye. Please, can the link to the WhatsApp platform be shared here? Oh, okay. Yes. Then there's another question from James Ojo. How can one join the SUL WhatsApp platform? I think that should be directed to Dr. Adegboyega. So the link to the WhatsApp platform is shared already. So I believe Mr. James Ojo should also tap into that. President, please go ahead with your comments or question.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. First, on behalf of the National Executive Council and the Board of Trustees of the Society for Underutilized Legumes, I would like to appreciate our mentor for the erudition and foresightness that has been presented today. Let me just stop there, because Prof had actually elicited a lot of interest, and I make bold to say that we are riding on your mentorship, particularly when we visited a few months ago. A number of this discussion, we have initiated efforts, particularly strengthening the capacity for us to do very well with all the necessary stakeholders in awareness as well as utilization. That was what led us to the inauguration of a Trades and Commercialization Committee of the Society at the last summit that was held in Abuja. And the committee is, they are putting up a framework for a stakeholders engagement in the next few days, that they will invite principal officers of the group and other members to be able to know how far they have gone in terms of development of recipe of this underutilized legumes and other industry collaboration that we could establish. In addition, is for us to, as part of our demonstration, was the love that we are making additional efforts in having the field established. I'm happy to tell everybody, as we have previously communicated, that under the leadership of Professor Adesola Ajayi as the Vice-Chancellor of Abiola Ajimobi University, we were supported with a carriage of land for us to have a demonstration of underutilized legumes, particularly having a demonstration plot for seed multiplication. We were there, myself and a few other ESCO. We were around a few weeks ago. And then before then, Professor Karim and Professor Egbetukun and Dr. Adedeji and others were also on the site in December. I was there in February, and we are thankful. We are only consolidating on all the necessary field preparation for us to ensure that we have the demonstration plot established on or before the end of June this year. So it's going to serve as a model, as one of the models that we want to replicate across the country in terms of seed requests. The requests at the germplasm unit in IITA is what we have is not too sufficient for the request. So during our recent discussion, Professor Abatin, the concern was for us to identify a particular section of Africa of Bambara granule, particularly, that is commonly available and used by all, and then we multiply for seed. Multiplied for seed will generate the seed multiplication process, and then increase utilization as the case is. We are also working with several women groups, NIWAB, NAWIA, among others, particularly to extend the seed multiplication process across the country. They have been able to acquire some plots in the north and some in the east and some in the south. Our colleagues from NAWIA in Oshogbo have also done a demonstration, but we need to scale up. Part of the deliberation we had at the last summit was for us to improve on capacity development, particularly in terms of product development. So all these are things that we have initiated. However, the lecture today has strengthened the need for us to have a coordination. And I'm aware Prof is repeating his statement again for the second time, particularly for us to have a center of excellence. We take his word as a prophecy and as something that we need to do. Immediately he mentioned it, Professor Berkeley, Ekajegbe, Professor Laleye, Professor Adedeji, and a few others are actually working in that regard to be able to see how do we expand in terms of attracting the desired resources that would assist us to be able to ensure that when we wake up in the morning, we take this legume. We are not only taking them as food, we are only taking them as medicines. Look at the correlation that Prof gave us in relation to the farmer as well as to the fast and moving consumer goods. So in all, the utilization is far going beyond mere food consumption. We are talking about large-scale industrial utilization. That's our goal. And we are inviting everybody to be part of this. In conclusion is that, just like Prof has said, we have thematic groups. If Professor Berkeley is here, I would like him to speak on this. Professor Berkeley, sir. Okay. We have thematic groups ranging from nutritional.
Sorry, President. I'm around. I'm in a class actually, but let me just make a few comments.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have good afternoon, everybody. VC, good afternoon, sir. In a while, good to hear from you again.
I throw a salute.
I throw a plenty salute. So I'm trying to use one stone to kill three birds. We have exams going on. I have a postgraduate class going on right now. I'm even in class. So I'm making this speech in front of the students. Okay, let me just maybe if my camera is working, probably the students want to say hi to everybody, and then I make my short presentation. My camera is You see, my camera is now misbehaving.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Now, what we have thematic groups, and incidentally, when we turned on when we activated the WhatsApp group, we thought it was important to have various thematic groups that will deal with certain research interests. You know, the underutilized legume family has experts and interest from the various aspects of biological, agricultural, engineering, various aspects of the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and even arts. So what we did was to create different thematic groups to address these various issues. So we have groups for those in genetics. We have thematic groups for those in physiology, those in ecology, and so on and so forth. So as soon as you are admitted into the general WhatsApp platform, you will see the link, because the WhatsApp platform is a community. So within the community, we have various thematic groups. Those groups are not actually exhaustive. As much as new groups pop up, we'll add them. So that's it. So what we do is once you have any idea, you create those ideas, start up conversations, and then from those conversations, research topics are generated. Just to say that because of those thematic groups that we have, we've been able to write, we've been able to galvanize a couple of teams that made presentations at TED Fund. In fact, we had two successful outings at TED Fund last year, even though we didn't eventually come home with the grants, but then it was great. We've also been able to make applications to international bodies. One on, I think two proposals on Bambara. So the thematic groups are actually working. So we invite all members to not just join the group, but also try as much as possible to be active. Because truth of the matter is, they say two good heads are better than one, So I welcome everybody to Society for Underutilized Legumes. My name is Becky. So, President, please permit me to continue with my class.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We are very delighted. So, in summary, is that we will continue the engagement, and want to thank our mentor, our prof, for the presentation today. And like he had mentioned, we need to have a very strong strategy for the penetration that we actually want the industries and support and other levels of support that we desire to be achieved. So thank you very much. Over.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Adegboyega, the president of the society. So if Professor Kende is not around, I think it's a good place to end the lecture. The vote of thanks and closing will be taken by Ms. Uriri Etatuve. Is Ms. Etatuve here?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, I am. Good afternoon. Okay, so I want to take this opportunity to appreciate every single person that took out time in their day to, come and learn, be a part of this webinar, and to join the Society for Underutilized Legumes. Special appreciation goes to our, beautiful, amiable speaker, President of Professor Kende Soeton. We appreciate you, sir. He has impacted knowledge, taught us a lot. I have learned, me, that I'm just a baby student. At least I know that I should apply for grants any which way. I should do it scared. Something may just come out of it. We appreciate the leading body, the leading team, and the ESCOs of the Society for Underutilized Legumes. Appreciate our president, and then like the planning committee for planning these webinars. We have them consistently, and every time is like you're learning something new. There's always something, and there's always so much to go home with. So we appreciate the team for like consistently organizing these webinars back to back to back. So thank you everybody for your time. Then the announcement, the ninth scientific conference for Sulu would be taking place in October 2026. That is coming up. So let's keep that in our calendars and like pay attention to Sulu social media, our WhatsApp, Instagram for more information, because we'll update you when the time is coming closer. Then also publications are being taken in the Journal for Underutilized Legumes, which is due. So if you have any papers that you want to publish, you can do that in the Journal for Underutilized Legumes. For that, you can reach out to the PRO person of Dr. Kafilat or Deshola. Then also, SUL is also still taking members. And then for active members, you need to pay your dues so that we can keep the society running. Again, I want to appreciate everybody for taking out their time, participants for taking out their time to attend the lecture. Appreciate the our anchor for today and the facilitator, Mrs. Rosimi. God bless you, ma. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, Mr. President. We hope to see you again when we host like the next webinar.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tatuve. There was a slight mix-up there. The lecture was taken by Professor Adesola Ajayi, just for the attention of those who joined late. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye. Bye.
gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni sàyé pé kí lọ́lọ́run tó ní kánú fi gbẹ̀kọ́ fúnra wa lónìí. Ẹ̀rí lónìí.
Fẹ́ràn mi, ó máa pa rédíò yẹn. Kódà wọ́n ṣe lọ́bọ̀ ó skip.
Gbogbo ẹ̀dá tàbá jẹ́. Àlọ́ kí ni ọ̀rọ̀ náà? Ọ̀rọ̀ náà ni pé gbogbo wa rí borílẹ̀ ayé ṣe ń rí lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí. Ọmọ
Collier, share your music, share your love.
Ṣe nẹ́tíwọ́ọ̀kì ò dáa. Mọ̀ bí màá ṣe tẹ̀ mọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀. Kò tiẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀. Wọ́n á sọ̀rọ̀. Wọ́n bá mi wò ná. Ó yẹ kí n máa gbọ́ nǹkan táwọn yòókù sọ. Bọ̀ mo ṣáà ti wọlé, wọ́n rí pé mo wọlé. Mo ní kan náà láago mẹ́fà bá.
Ṣé fídíò ni?
Àwọn máa ṣe fídíò.
Fídíò náà rí.
Nẹ́tíwọ́ọ̀kì ni ó sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan bá ti mọ wọlé.
Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni?
Ìjọ jẹ́ àjáde.